Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and I want to thank the Ranking Member Senator Lugar for being with us today and for chairing this hearing. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce to this committee a son of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and someone who's my friend, Dan Rooney. Dan appears today as President Obama's nominee to serve as U.S. Ambassador to Ireland, an important diplomatic posting in the world. I know that Dan's exceptional lifetime accomplishments, as well as his abiding interest in both the American and Irish people, make him an ideal nominee to serve as America's envoy to the Emerald Isle. I wish my late father, Governor Casey, were here to speak on Dan's behalf. He had very, very high standards, and he loved and respected Dan Rooney, Dan's father, Art Rooney, the original Art Rooney. Dan Rooney, as many of you might know, was an all-star quarterback in high school and graduated from Duquesne University with a degree in accounting. After graduation, he immediately joined the Pittsburgh Steelers organization and has never left until now. Following the footsteps of his father, Art, Dan was appointed as president of the Steelers in 1975 and became the owner of the team in 1988 following his father's death. Under his visionary leadership, the Pittsburgh Steelers have emerged as one of the modern-day dynasties in the National Football League, having won 6 Super Bowls, including the dramatic win this past year. In honor of his leadership skills, Dan was inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the year 2000. Mr. Chairman, Dan Rooney is best known for his successful management of the Steelers. But for Dan, the game must be more than wins and losses on Sunday. You may have heard of the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule, implemented by the NFL beginning in 2003 under Dan's leadership, requires teams, when seeking to fill the position of head coach or general manager, to interview at least one minority candidate. Dan Rooney recognized that too often these positions were filled by an old boys club that may disadvantage people of color and others who come from less traditional backgrounds. The Rooney Rule is widely hailed as a success. Indeed, the young head coach of our Super Bowl champion Steelers, Mike Tomlin, just happens to be an African American. Dan Rooney will bring to this position as ambassador a lifetime of work on behalf of strengthening the U.S.-Ireland partnership. In 1976, Dan played a critical role in founding the American Ireland Fund, which has raised over $300 million for peace and education programs in Ireland. In 1989, Dan co-founded the Ireland Institute of Pittsburgh to raise awareness of and contribute to the social and economic stability of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Few Americans have done more than Dan Rooney to nurture the ties between our two great nations. Dan has also played a significant role in facilitating an active U.S. role in the Northern Ireland peace process. Indeed, just last year, Queen Elizabeth II presented Dan with an honorary Commander of the British Empire for his, quote, exceptional contribution to peace and reconciliation in Northern Ireland. Finally, Dan has been an energetic and active member of the greater Pittsburgh community. Just among many things I could list, he's the founding chairman of the Mentoring Partnership of Southwestern Pennsylvania, a community-based organization that promotes mentoring relationships for young people. Dan Rooney will draw from a lifetime of experiences in serving our nation overseas. Yet, despite all that experience and ability, he's a man of uncommon humility and decency. On game days, Dan still walks from his family home to Heinz Field. The Steelers are his family, and he stands in line like everyone else at the Steelers' lunchroom. He visits his players when they're in the hospital and treats them always, always with respect and affection. Should the United States Senate choose to confirm Dan Rooney as our next ambassador to Ireland, and I believe we will, he will sever his ties with the Pittsburgh Steelers organization for the first time since 1955. I know that he will leave the organization in very good and capable hands. If it were otherwise, loyal Steeler fans would never allow Dan to depart. But all kidding aside, I'm proud to voice my unwavering support for Dan Rooney. He's a loving husband, a proud father of 9 children, and an extraordinary leader. As a member of this committee, and as a proud Pennsylvanian, and as someone who happens to be of Irish ancestry, I offer my wholehearted endorsement of Dan Rooney as our next United States ambassador to Ireland. Dan, congratulations, and thank you for your willingness to serve our country. Thank you for allowing me, Mr. Chairman, to speak on Dan Rooney's behalf.